Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Investing Bros live show. It is Saturday morning, November the 2nd. And in today's video, we don't necessarily have a whole heck of a lot of news, but we are going to be talking about this dip that is in play. If you are freaking out, if you are watching your portfolio shrink over the last couple of days, and you're genuinely asking yourself, is there a chance that the bull market is over? Well, we're going to talk about that and targets you need to be looking for, because our personal belief here at the Investing Bros is an epic bull run is about to start. We are only days away, but you need to be vigilant and watching your portfolios. And if you have dry powder, you need to be getting ready to deploy it here very, very soon. We're going to have a lot of Q&A today towards the end of the show. You can come in and ask questions about your portfolio. You can ask questions about maybe some of your favorite coins, what expectations would be. So make sure to watch all the way through to the very end. Hit that like button and hit subscribe. But first, we got to roll the intro. What is going on? We got both T-Shroom and Crux in the building. We got our news guy. We got our fundamentals guy. We got the chart guy right here. So any questions you guys have today, you came to the right place here at the Investing Bros Show. You're going to get some great answers. But let's start off, gentlemen. T-Shroom, I'm going to start with you. How you doing this morning?
Well, Tim, Crux, glad to be here. In fact, I'm more glad than I deserve. It's Saturday. There's no better place that I'd rather be than right here, right now, with you and your beautiful faces. Crux, how you doing?
I'm doing great as well. Always nice to be with T-Shroom and Tim and with the bros and reading comments. You guys get pretty crazy sometimes, but we're here for you guys. And most importantly, we're right where we need to be with these crypto markets. So just stay tuned and continue to follow the bros. We're crushing it.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's something that we're going to kind of talk about in this show, but there's a lot of money about to be made in this market. I don't think people, especially if they're newer. I know, T-Shroom, you were invested in stocks 4 years ago, but you weren't net in crypto. Crux, though, I know you've shared stories even on this channel about what life was like 4 years ago for you. Of course, 4 years ago for me, I'd only been invested in crypto for a couple of months at this point. But I vividly remember the roller coaster of emotions that led into the months before the explosiveness. You know, people were optimistic one day, and then all of a sudden things were crashing, and people were wondering, is this the pandemic, of course, was the big topic back in 2020. Is this going to ruin the Bitcoin bull market? And then I remember watching price. I do remember sitting on my friend's couch in his living room. We were watching the charts just because he was following. And we were watching it climb from like 12,000 to 13. We just watched it go crazy. And he's like, oh, that's good. Okay, it's going to reject right here. This is going to be a healthy. And then it kept going up. And then I remember a couple days later, he's like, yeah, dude, we're back at all-time high at 20K. And then a couple days later, it's like, oh, no, we're above. Oh, we're going to keep going. All right, well, we'll reject here at 25. Oh, no, we're going to 30. Okay, we'll reject here we're going to 40. And then finally, after a 100% rally, we finally had a correction. People need to strap in because it's going to get fast. It's going to get aggressive. It's going to blow your socks off, and we're right on schedule for it. But today, it's about focusing on where potentially prices could go to the downside first before they make that epic run here just in a couple of days. Anything, T-Shroom, you want to say before we get into it? Then, Crux, I'll let you go as well, and we'll go into some charts and then answer some Q&A here for the show.
Yeah, it's kind of the calm before the storm. You know, I mean, next week is the big week that everybody in crypto, everybody in the stock market, everybody in Forex has been saying is going to be the big catalyst that's going to change up the game, whether that's going to be directly up and to the right or whether that's going to be up and to the right with some huge 30% corrections along the way. It's going to get crazy, and you want to have a plan. We're going to talk about planning a little bit in this episode here, but yeah, without further ado, Tim, let's go ahead and check out what we're seeing on the charts.
Yeah, let's just start off with Bitcoin. Just refreshing for people, in case you guys have not been watching our shows this week, we talked about the historical resistance on former all-time highs. We talked about levels to keep an eye on pulling back. And the one we are still watching, even this morning as we're wrestling with the $69,000 mark for Bitcoin, still keeping an eye down here where we have major support coming in closer towards $66,000 to $65,000. Bitcoin's going to get explosive. It's going to be reaching. I think there's still a chance, realistically, that we hit 100K before the end of the year. But for now, the level that I'm watching very seriously is pretty much coming back into this wick right in here, back from October 25th, meeting where this rising smart trail and getting into this order block. You're going to see that across several time frames here at the moment. And what we're even seeing happen, you can see here from the last target we had a target in play here for some major support that we fell down a little bit below. We rallied back above with this wick back above 71,000, but now you can see we're rejecting on this level. We're turning it into resistance. Again, a lot of signs showing over the weekend even we could start to make a big slip. Before I move on, though, we'll look at other targets. Again, our target's 65 to 66,000. What's going to be good about this is that we'll have the opportunity to create a pretty good sized gap. If you go to the Bitcoin CME futures tool, right? So this is not going to move around on us. It closed yesterday on Friday. It closes 69,620. So if we come back Monday morning and we're down, maybe somewhere down here towards 68 something, maybe we're down all the way down, this zone, actually something we were talking about a pocket before. Maybe we close this gap. We actually go below this gap, open up somewhere around 66. We would have two different major gaps to actually be dealing with. That could be a very bullish catalyst to get the price moving back in the right direction. But at the moment, that's going to be kind of keep it nice and clean here. I'm going to throw it to you guys for your thoughts. But my target for Bitcoin pullback still remains 66, 65,000. A lot of liquidity back in that area. I believe even if you take a look at liquidations, yeah, there we go. Big liquidity right here at 65,400. Keep that area on your mind when you come to look for more buying options for Bitcoin. I'm going to throw it to Crux real quickly before we move on to other coins. What are your thoughts? Do you agree with those kinds of levels I know you're not necessarily a chart guy, but using fundamentals, you still open charts and you're looking at different things. What are your thoughts about Bitcoin? Are you thinking we turn around right now? Do you agree it's a little bit of a bearish weekend leading into the election season and a rally possibly next week?
T-shirt, you mind sharing my screen real quick? Yeah, so on Wednesday morning's live stream, I did say, I believe 69 to 68K, which is currently where we're at. I don't see us falling much more than this, but I do agree with your numbers that you just talked about, Tim. Just one thing I wanted to note is these were the prices during the last presidential elections. So $726, I think, is whenever Donald Trump, the November 5th, election for Donald Trump going into office. And then it ended up going to $20,000 that bull market. This last 2020 election was $13,500. So if you were to sell your crypto or your Bitcoin currently, you're looking at possibly one of the worst opportunities or the worst times to sell your crypto. So just something to pay attention to is, sometimes it does look very similar to the past in crypto in these 4-year cycles. And it's a very good tool to use towards your journey.
I like it.
I don't know what happened. Cam kicked me out for a second. He was starting his reasoning. He's like, so this is what I heard. Yeah, I talked about this on Wednesday, and then it went silent. I was like, oh, what a dramatic pause from Crux. Oh, wait, no, something's wrong on my end. And I come back in, he's like, and that's what's going to happen on the weekend. So I missed everything that he just said.
He just gave the bros the keys.
I just told everybody
there.
What the price of Bitcoin is going to be, and there's no disputing it.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Well, whatever he said, he gets a thumbs up from me. I'm going to let you teach him, get your take on Bitcoin real quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just to share my screen really quick as well. I've got a pretty big fib drawn that I've been rocking with, a trend-based fib extension here on my Coinbase chart for Bitcoin. There's a fib level, the 0.78 here is coming in at 67,365. And then if I go over to my other Bitcoin chart on Kraken, I've got this uptrending line of support here that actually coincides with what kind of closer to what Tim was saying. That would put us, that if we just drop to it right now, it'd be 66,700. But we more than likely would come back and touch it somewhere around here. So this is a uptrending line of support that I'm watching. Obviously, right here, this big white line is the U.S. election day. So, once we cross this line, I think all bets are off. It's just going to be an absolute who knows what's going to happen, whether or not we have huge swings, whether we go straight up, just straight up like this, or if there is kind of a dump, depending on who gets elected, right? Maybe there's something like this, and then we'll find support and move higher. But that's kind of my overall prediction. I think also what I like to look back to is these candle body closes back here. This is what kept some support here at 66,500-ish. Mm-hmm. But I think we could get as low and see a candle close down right around there at 65,850. So that's just some kind of back of the napkin TA to just give folks a little bit of an idea. I would be pretty surprised if we get below 65,000, right?
Yeah.
But it is volatility season, so I say I would be surprised. I would be surprised, but I wouldn't be shocked, I guess would be a good.
No, I think the one of the ways to think about it, T-Shroom, and we've said this before. I want to clarify in the very beginning before I'm going to say what I'm going to say. I firmly believe no matter who wins presidency, there's still going to be a form of a bull market. I think there's different levels that come based off what happens. But in the short term, I think people really need to honestly prepare for this. When you look at the Bitcoin chart, go back to my screen here, T-Shroom. If you look at the trajectory of where Bitcoin's been rallying here more recently, it's eerily similar. Really, if you look at the poly market, and I'm not going to zoom in here, but if you look at the smaller timelines, I'll zoom in a little bit. And you look at the price action or the percentage increase of the Bitcoin dominance of the Trump probability of winning on poly markets, right? This is people betting on it. Well, what is Bitcoin? People are investing their money. The similarities in the time frames and the climbing, it's very similar. We're correcting here over the last couple of days. Guess what's also correcting? The Trump probability of winning, right? So what we're seeing is pretty unmistakable. You can go off my screen now. What you're seeing is a pretty unmistakable correlation between the probability of Donald Trump winning and the price of Bitcoin. If Trump's percentages climb, so does Bitcoin. If Trump's percentages fall, so does Bitcoin. Yeah, there's a good representation of it right there.
Yeah, it's from FD White. Tweeted it
what
out
I think people need to be prepared for is if Kamala Harris wins, there probably will go lower than 65. When T-Shroom says, I don't see Bitcoin going below 65, I think I agree with him as long as Donald Trump wins presidency. I think that we've been rallying based off of an anticipation that Trump's going to win. If Trump does not win, there's a temporary cool off. I think Bitcoin could drop back to 60,000 in a short term with a Kamala Harris wins. If Donald Trump wins, I think we bounce off that 65. We move to the upside very dramatically, hitting new all-time highs probably within hours of the decision coming in officially that Donald Trump's president. So it's one of those things. You should be buying Bitcoin no matter what, because the bull market's still coming. But if I'm going to be very frank with people, as far as trading goes, if you want to put yourself in a position where, it might not even be a terrible decision to enter one long one direction with a pretty tight stop loss and a short the other way with a tight stop loss, just having yourself in position for no matter who wins to ride that volatility. Because again, I think right now the reason we're at 69,000 is there's still a betting favorite that Donald Trump wins. If that ends up being false and Kamala wins, I think price does need to correct. And more than likely, go back to my screen here, T-Shroom, I think we'll correct back down to these October levels, these early October levels, back down towards 60,000. After that, the market gets over itself. It realizes, all right, we got Kamala Harris for 4 years. That shouldn't ruin the party. Let's go ahead and keep pumping Bitcoin, and we hit these highs later. Again, in case anyone's saying, Tim, that's so ridiculous, she'll ruin the economy. I'm not saying Kamala's going to do a great job, but I just want to remind you what Bitcoin did when Joe Biden won the presidency. Yeah, it hesitated. Yeah, we had some volatility, but we knew that Biden was going to be president during this massive pump. I don't think we should be so close-minded to think that Kamala Harris is going to ruin the Bitcoin bull market. The only thing I think she could do is potentially make it have an early top rather than extending a full, 4-year cycle or further. But we'll keep that monitored. Again, election season is almost here. It's going to come. It's going to go. I'll tell you one promise. No matter who wins presidency, you're going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. We're going to make it through. That's one of the cool things about America is even if a president you don't want to wins. I know there's this movement on both sides saying the other side is going to ruin democracy. Can we be very honest with you guys? There might be some damages. There might be some laws passed that we don't like. We're going to make it. We're going to make it to another 4 years. We're going to have another chance. Guess what? In 4 years, we'll get better candidates. we'll get better candidates to vote for than Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. That thing I'm actually pretty sure of. Let's move on, though. Let's check out the second cryptocurrency, Ethereum, and then we might even start early getting into some Q&A with people. But I want to take a look at Ethereum. It's a long-term uptrending level of support still in play here for Ethereum. We're going back all the way to the bear market lows of June in 2022. You can see this faded blue line. Let me make it brighter for you guys because that's very dark. There we go. You can see this blue line has held up continuously. We did have a couple of wicks kind of go below here more recently, but no daily candle closes below that blue line. We're back close to retesting it. As I said, I think Bitcoin's going to drop. I would be so surprised if we also didn't see Ethereum drop as well. Where's that level? Well, not only do you see that line, you're going to see an order block coming here at this level. 2410 is going to be the top zone. Technically, we could get another situation like back here on September 6th where the wick goes a little bit below. But keep an eye on this little block right in here. I'm assuming we're going to see some similar movements here with the 4-hour chart. Yeah, 2 order blocks right in that same exact spot. Our take profits from a short position here on the 4-hour chart. If we look at liquidity, let's look at liquidations. You do see some of the heavier liquidations. There is some right here at 24.50, but then you come down here to 24.15, 23.89, and even down here towards 23.43. There are longs that can be liquidated in that area. So I would tell you, with what we're watching right now, with the fact that we're seeing some of these support levels down there, the fact that we are seeing the money flow continue to go down on the 4-hour, I'm only going to assume the daily is the same way. Absolutely it is. Keep an eye on this zone, this pocket, just below around 2,400 or just below. More than likely is going to be our main support here for Ethereum. Now, the real question when it comes to Ethereum, you can go off my screen now, and I'm going to throw it to you guys to kind of answer from a fundamental standpoint. I'm still very bullish on Ethereum. I've looked at things. I still think that this is the part of the 4-year cycle, how it's playing out. We listen to people like Larry Fink even say that Ethereum's got such a bright future of what it's capable of doing. But there's a lot of people kind of losing faith in Ethereum. That has been boring. We were supposed to have that Ethereum ETF pop off just like Bitcoin. In fact, we've done nothing but go to the downside since then. Are either one of you guys losing faith in Ethereum, or do you think that's silly? Explain maybe a little why. Crux, I'm going to start with you.
So first of all, Ethereum has by far the most total value locked. So you're looking at over $50 billion locked in their ecosystem. It's kind of, so the way that I look at Ethereum today is it's an open test net. I think of it as the test net for crypto. It's the one that got smart contracts adopted. It's done so much that other cryptos have not. It went from proof of work to proof of stake. The best developers in the world are working on Ethereum. That being said, it's not the most efficient ecosystem, and we know as crypto evolves, these other ecosystems like Sui, Kaspa, they're all starting to bring in some market share of what should have went to Ethereum. Now, so T-shirt, you mind sharing my screen real quick? I don't want to push too much of it back onto BNB, but BNB, in my opinion, is what Ethereum was wanting to do. So BNB is the one that's burning, 1 billion quarterly in their supply, which is what Ethereum should have been doing this entire time. Ethereum's tokens in circulation has not been changing. If you would have asked me 2 years ago, is Ethereum going to start burning their tokens? How is it going to work? I would have said yes. But I think Ethereum has not proven itself. And if I go over here to BNB's chart, I can see that BNB has vastly outperformed Ethereum. It's almost at its all-time high, while Ethereum's much further away. And yeah, there's these other ecosystems that are becoming what Ethereum should have been. That being said, I still like Ethereum. I just don't hold any.
Yeah, and I will take the other side of that, Crux. I think the reason why, Tim, you said why people aren't buying Ethereum, it's because this is the institutional cycle. People will play a role, especially towards the end in the euphoria phase of the bull market. But it's the institutions. It's the institutions that are driving this market. And so far, we have seen that the institutions are buying Bitcoin very aggressively, which is not out of step with the 4-year cycle. Bitcoin gets the bid first. People get educated on Bitcoin first. Institutions this cycle are getting heavily educated, very bullish. We've seen the CEO of Dell get educated on Bitcoin. We've seen Microsoft could be potentially forced into assessing Bitcoin, if not buying it. Institutions are the name of the game this time around, and there are only 2 ETFs that are purchasable on the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ, and that is Bitcoin and Ethereum. BNB is great, and BNB is, like what you said, Crux, it's kind of a more realized vision of a higher burn rate for the tokenomics, which is fantastic, right? If you've been long BNB. But I would just say Binance is so much lower on the totem pole, on the priority list for institutions to accumulate than Ethereum. Yeah. So we'll see. We shall see. We've been told it's institutional phase. So far, that has seemed to be the case, as ETFs are definitely leading the charge in terms of Bitcoin accumulation. But, there could be some special moments with a lot of other coins. We've definitely seen that with SUI. We could continue to see that with BNB. But Crux, I like that. I like that example there. And my thought is no. Ethereum is going to do very well. Other coins are going to do well alongside it. But Ethereum is not going to be left behind. It's so far from a dead chain. And Wall Street and big money, big institutional money is just now getting educated on it. And it's the second name, right?
Yeah, I think the other thing to think about is obviously the Bitcoin ETF. It drew a lot of excitement, brought the whole market up with it. But there's been a lot of negativity and question marks around crypto. It's almost like it was unfair to Ethereum. It's not that Ethereum didn't get a great run. Ethereum had a great run during the time of the Bitcoin ETF hype. It didn't make a great move during its ETF announcement, but neither did almost any other cryptocurrency, right? Bitcoin has underperformed since that season. So it's almost like we just haven't had the right atmosphere to purchase and heavily utilize the Ethereum ETF. I think that season comes. Again, what I would say, historically, Bitcoin season, which I think we're in right now as we're watching, again, the Bitcoin dominance has climbed above 60%. It's going to last roughly a month. I think by the end of November, early December, we're going to start seeing Ethereum move. If we get into mid to late December and Ethereum's not moving, I'm not necessarily pushing the sell button, but I am pushing the worry button. And if we get into January and Ethereum has not eclipsed 3,000, then I think we have a genuine freak out session saying, is it time to sell Ethereum? But we got a lot of time between now and then. Also want to throw out there for our BNB thoughts there. That's a coin that we don't talk about a whole lot, but I think Crux is right. Don't sleep on BNB. It's not going to be the biggest gainer. In fact, we have estimates, and we'll make a video on this in the future, but I'll go ahead and spoil it for some people here. I have, based off of where we think BNB is going to be ranked, $275 to $300 billion market cap for BNB coming. That would put where its supply is going to be at about an $1,800 to $2,000 price for BNB. That's not necessarily anything crazy. We're talking about a 3 to 5x range, very similar to Ethereum is pretty much what we're talking about here. Mm-hmm. But still, we're going to see a much larger gain on the BNB. Don't think the BNB is one to sleep on either if you want to have maybe some of that security in your portfolio. But let's move on here. We're going to start going into chat here. Chat, I want to get your takes. What do you guys want to talk about? Coins? Do you want to talk about the charts, the fundamentals? We'll take a look at all of them. But there was some comments here earlier as we get into chat. Go ahead and start dropping all those. People are asking about Solana as well. And this is one we talked about yesterday. But we'll take a look at the targets we have for Solana. Now, it's getting very, very close. Come on, go into my screen here, T-Shroom. We did wick down to 162, a level we told you to keep an eye on. This is a former level of resistance. It's our neckline for an inverse head and shoulders pattern that Solana had played out or looked like it wanted to play out. That would send the price back over 200, but we're coming back down here and retesting this support level. I don't think it necessarily stops there. I don't see a world in which Ethereum and Bitcoin drop a couple more percentage, but Solana just pauses. So what we're keeping an eye on is, yes, we're coming into the daily chart bullish breaker block, but I'd keep an eye on where the smart trail is. You guys see this blue line right here. If I remove that, I think, again, we said this yesterday, 158, potentially even as low as 151 could be on the table. Let's put a blue box just filling up that smart trail right there. If we go to the 4-hour chart, we're going to see some other interesting details here as well. You can see the take profit. We're kissing the highest level of that selling take profit, but it could go even as low as down here to 154. So you're kind of seeing a zoomed in trajectory somewhere here. 145, 150 could be interesting. Let's see what our liquidity is saying. If we look at our liquidation levels, Look at that. You're going to see the brightest is coming in here at 160, but it's even more if I zoom out here. You're going to see a little bit more liquidity coming in down here, 157, 156 area. That would kind of be now the new dead zone. If we get down to that level, get to the next layers of long liquidity. So to me, I'm kind of watching within this blue box. I think this 155 is a nice spot to keep an eye on here for Solana. Tony Montana says sold to $60 to $90 end of December. So very bearish there. He is predicting a massive crash. Let's take a look. How big of a move? If Tony was right, which Tony, so glad you're here. Very glad to have your input. I'm just respectfully going to disagree that I don't think that's happening, but let's pretend it did happen. We're talking about a crash for Solana. If I can grab that percentage tool correctly, we're talking about a crash for Solana at least 45%. And then you said potentially $60 is on the table. We're talking about a 63% crash from here. Crux. What is the probability of Tony being right here and we get a 45 to 60% crash in Solana over the next 2 months?
T-Shirt, you mind sharing my screen? So with Solana, you got institutional adoption, right? You have Circle. You see some big names here like Google, Meta, Stripe, Shopify. Some of these big articles you'll see, so they had the break even where they talked a lot about Solana and the ecosystem there. Big names like Twitter and Blinks, what that's doing, PayPal. There's no way. So if Bitcoin continues to move, Solana is going to most likely outpace Bitcoin. But again, if Bitcoin doesn't, Solana will retrace harder. So I just see it as kind of a leveraged, Ethereum, actually. It's more similar to Ethereum than it is Bitcoin. But this is one of the most bullish plays that I'm into. I think Solana is going to get well over $1,000 this cycle. And it's because of these big names that you see here on the screen.
Yeah, so by the way, Tony did specify, he said his reason for this is looking at pretty much the golden pocket, the 0.618 retracement after the 10x pumps. It's not a terrible line of reasoning here, Tony, but I want you to understand when it comes to these things, if you go to my screen here, T-Shroom, this is what he's talking about. Anyone who does Fibonacci technical analysis, he's not wrong at saying, hey guys, golden pockets are significant levels to keep an eye on. That being said, it's no such thing as a 100% certainty when it comes to golden pockets. You're also going to see, as we pointed out yesterday, this is on a linear chart. Let me go back to a log chart. Thank you there. You're also going to see here, we've developed a very strong descending channel, a very strong flag that's in position. This would symbolize, I don't even think we're going to drop this low, right? I think this zone up here around 155, it's going to be a good zone to keep an eye on. But let's just pretend something really bad happens, something that Tony's probably assessing and saying this would drop us, down 45 to 60%. The real support level you're watching is 110. Not predicting 110. Not saying that's going to happen. But I'm saying in a disaster scenario, 110 is a place that you could reasonably understand. I'll tell you this, Tony. We'll see. We'll come in December. We'll review this. I'll remember your name. I'll remember your prediction. Leave a comment down below just to even help us out. If we go down and lose 110 and start to drop to $90, we're out of the equation of saying just normal retracement. We're talking about what Tony's prediction would mean is a bear market, or if the bull market is happening, that's happening, the end of Solana. I don't think that's very likely. I'm not going to give it a 0% chance because nothing's certain in the world of crypto and investing. But I still believe, even for the reasons Crux said, there's so many strong fundamentals when it comes to Solana. There's so much strong support between us and even that 110 level, and much less going down to $90. I would be so very, very surprised to see those levels come true. But Tony, I do appreciate your input there, your opinion. Love hearing diverse opinions that disagree with myself because it makes me stretch my imagination of what's possible. Again, I wouldn't have talked about 110 unless you said that. 110 is something that people might need to prepare for. Again, if maybe a Kamala Harris win comes to play, you could trade back down to the bottom of that zone. Going much lower, though, that spells a lot more problems than just retracement for Solana.
Yep. Well, we've got some news. We've got a couple of headlines here, and then Crux, I believe, had a couple more thoughts on Binance as well as the Tron network. But let us know some tickers that you want to continue, if you want us to do some TA on. Tim, you ready to go ahead and get into the news here?
Let's do it.
there's not a ton of headlines, but there are a couple, and they're somewhat interesting here. Let's check them out. $5.7 trillion bank UBS launches a tokenized fund on Ethereum institutional cycle. UBS Asset Manager has launched its first tokenized money market fund, the UBS USD Money Market Investment Fund Token, UMINT, on the Ethereum blockchain. This fund gives investors access to digital asset management tools via select partners, leveraging blockchain for enhanced efficiency and transparency. USB developed UMINT in response to growing demand for tokenized assets. UBS, the Swiss bank, has 5.71 trillion AUM in 2023. Source Coin Speaker. Very, very big headline there. And we've got another one as well. This is from CNBC, actually. CNBC says investors load up on Bitcoin ahead of the U.S. presidential election. They also load up on bonds. So we take a look at the Bitcoin chart quite a bit. I've got the bond charts pulled up here. This is the 3-month.
Oh, my goodness.
And you have to be, so this is July right here where my crosshairs are. This is July. This is the present price. What you have to realize, though, is that this is the 3-month. So 3-month yield, right? This means that the yield, meaning the incentive, has gone down over this period of time. That does mean that investors are buying the bond, right? They are buying it, and that it decreases the need for an incentive. So that is good. But that's good for the 3-year. But that is the shortest dated treasury that you can buy. The 10-year, however, you can see, is quite a bit different. Okay, quite a bit different. What this movement to the upside of the yield, again, the incentive, not the value of the asset, just the yield of the asset, is up 21% since September. Okay, what does that mean? That means investors are dumping this bond. Okay, so they're saying, I don't want to lock my money in for 10 years, but for 3 months, I will take that. And so it's plain to see the bond market is pricing in a Trump victory. It's not just the betting spread. It's also the bond market saying, we don't want our money locked up into fixed income. We want to have that money liquid within at least 3 months so that we can pull that out and deploy it into NVIDIA, Microsoft, Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever it's going to be. They don't want to buy the 10-year, not into the election. That's what the bond market's saying. And we're seeing pretty much the same message, the same signal from the betting spread as well. So that's the latest signal, I'd say. Big headline there from UBS, giving Ethereum a lot of transactions, as well as a little bit of a tip from the bond markets. So pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's another sign. I think that's very positive for the markets as a whole. Again, things can change. Things can change quickly, but it's a good sign at this moment. We'll go to Crux. Crux, any thoughts from you?
Yes. So I don't want. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and switch it a little bit to Tron.
Yeah,
we did talk about BNB and Tron earlier. So this was an article that I saw get dropped today. So $1 billion in USDT minted on Tron.
Wow.
So I've been super bullish on Tron as a whole because they are the number one minters of USDT. So if I pull up the chart of Tron, I want everybody to take this in. This looks completely different than almost any other chart in crypto. So we're looking at something that looks different than Bitcoin. It just goes up and right. You know, you don't have those huge pullbacks. Even in the bear market, Tron fell less than Bitcoin. So, you know, I'm going to go on the record and say Tron may actually be less volatile and risky than Bitcoin. And that's because it's so tied into USDT, which is a stable asset. So I don't think enough people talk about this is Tron has done very well since the bear market. You know, it just goes up and right. For those that want to be more conservative in your holdings and you don't want to get your, 2x in a month or your 3x in a month and risk it, Tron is a very good token to look into, and it's very safe because it is backed by US dollars in terms of what USDT is as a product. So, they're continuing to mint more and more and more. They have more USDT than Ethereum does and Solana does. And if I pull up even here, so they have almost $7 billion in total value locked. And yeah, they've just been crushing it. So, more TVL than Solana, Binance Smart Chain, Base, Arbitrum. They're the second leaders in TVL behind Ethereum. And they're number maybe 12 in terms of market cap. So something to consider for you conservative investors out there, not looking to try to get a 15 or a 10x a cycle. Tron, whenever you get those pullbacks, does not fall too hard.
Yeah, I want to point out something here on the chart, though. There is a chance we see some form of a decent pullback here. And this might be hard to see for people, so I'm going to show you guys as we go through it. Mm-hmm. Right now, Tron, it's a very good-looking chart, right? A very bullish chart. But if anyone can see on here, you guys are going to see a red line, right in there. This is the Luxago oscillator that just always is turned on my screen, and that's bearish divergence. This has been a very good retracement indicator. I'm not talking about crashing into lows. I'm talking about a healthy correction. And on average, just so you guys see here, we're looking at about a 20% correction. Take a look at the different times we've seen bearish divergence in play. We see a red line right here back in August. Look at that big grouping of blue candles bringing us back down. I'm not going to go through all of them, but in this case, this one right here, just for scale, that was 13% right there. Here's one right here, red line. How far do we pull back? I'm just going to do a couple of these just for scale. 17%. This one, very big. I'm not even going to do it. It's going to be much larger than either of those. The only minor one right back here in November, this is still a 12% dip. I was checking it here a little bit ago, but there's just not a single time I'm seeing here this bearish divergence without at least 11% dip, if not closer towards 20. What would that mean? Let's just be conservative here because I do think we're closer towards getting to the bull market going or not. 11% here would bring us back down to roughly 15 cents, right? Currently trading around 16.6. I'm talking about moving us back down to 15.1. That could be something that I think could be interesting for people to keep an eye on. Then you come here and you look at the indicators, take a look. Right in here, a little higher than what I said, but there's a major order block with the daily smart trail right around 15.6, give or take. Not quite the full, 11% pullback. That one would be a 8% pullback. The 11% is going to put us a little closer towards this order block right here on 13% down to 14.8. But keep an eye on that one. Again, these bearish divergences for Tron have been extremely reliable. And this is a pretty big one right here. If you take a look at the oscillator, it's a pretty big time frame one. We are seeing a sell-off, a sell signal come into play here. Red reversal, bearish momentum, negative money flow. MACD looks like it wants to cross bearish. The RSI has a ways to go to cool off back down towards the 50 after keeling over. So I agree with you from a fundamental standpoint, Crux. Tron's looking very juicy. So I would tell people, keep an eye here around 15.6, 15.8 would be probably a very good spot. Even if we go lower, a good acquisition spot. If we do drop that, I think you're looking around $15 is going to be your point. $15, 15 cents is going to be a good entry there for Tron. Good case right there. Let's go into some other coins that people are asking about. We got probably about 20 minutes left on the show today. People have been asking about ChainLink. I see a lot of people saying that I was the one who got them into ChainLink. Hopefully you guys are continuing to do your own research on top of anything I've said. Well, I'm very bullish on it, and I'm going to give you guys reasons why I'm bullish on it. I've been giving you reasons. I'll continue to give you reasons. Every single person should continue to do their own research. Please, 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 please. I'm going to beg you guys something. Do not ever invest in something simply because somebody else said they liked it. All right? I'm talking about myself. I'm talking about Crux and T-Shroom. I'm talking about other influencers. They would agree with me on this take. Do not buy assets because one of your favorite YouTubers said he or she personally likes it. If it sparks your interest because of the arguments that they make, do a little bit of deeper research for yourself. If you agree with the argument being made and that sits well with you as well, now all of a sudden we have a good argument for investing. But please don't buy ChainLink just because I want to. Make sure that you do the research and it checks all the boxes of a good investment for yourself as well. That being said, I love ChainLink, and I'm not going to apologize for it. Let's go take a look at where I'm thinking to buy the next level of ChainLink. We're going to keep a similar line of reasoning here. We've broken out more recently of a falling wedge pattern. I think the next major level resistance, the upside, is going to be somewhere around $15. I think there will be some wrestling up there. But let's talk about where we could pull back down to. We have been riding this daily smart trail here for a while, for the last couple of weeks, since early October. There's a nice little order block right in this camp as well, around $10.74, but the lowest part of this smart trail could bring us all the way down closer towards $10, back down towards $10.30. That's what we're seeing on the daily chart. What is the 4-hour chart kind of showing us in the same area? You're going to see take profits and a major order block coming in here around $10.70. So that's going to be an interesting one. If that's lost, though, 1040, there's another order block that's still within our take profit of a sell order for the 4-hour chart. Where's our liquidity kind of telling us? There's some interesting liquidity levels. Let's zoom out and take a quick look here. There's an interesting spot right in here. I'll tell you this, if we don't stop around 1092 and we get into this bunch, that makes it a lot lower here. Going back towards the daily chart, the bottom of that smart trail, you could make a run all the way through this liquidity back down to those lower $10 levels, $10.15 before you really catch a breath of those liquidations. This is a perfect scenario right here for what we would call a long squeeze, meaning there's been a lot of people entering longs on ChainLink, but they're putting their stop losses or they're putting their heavy leverage in a position that their place is going to be lost. And the more and more we lose these, it just makes it easier to go to the next line and the next line and the next line and the next line. And the last significant line here coming in down here at 1023. There is some down here at 1012, 1014, but I think if we start to make moves and we lose 1090, it's a pretty good size fall all the way down to those lower $10 levels before we're able to slow down, catch our breath. The bulls buy it back up. The experienced traders say that's a good enough dip for me. Let's go ahead and buy this back up and send it to the upside. The good news is long-term, a lot of liquidity up above us. A lot of reasons for a potential long squeeze to turn into a short squeeze, and we make our way back up over 20. Right now, if I'm looking on this chart, the daily chart, the highest amount of liquidity are these short positions up here at $21, right? In the grand scheme of things, we're going to chase that. We're going to get rid of those liquidations as well. But to the downside, closer towards $10 looking extremely likely. Andy Goes Digital says, LOL, Tim, we liked your explanation on ChainLink. I'm glad you liked it. Here's what I'll tell you to do. Fact check me. Anything I've ever said about ChainLink, any argument I've ever given as to why I think people should buy ChainLink, fact check to make sure I'm not just shooting air out of my butt. Make sure that I'm actually coming with details. Make sure that it's an actual good argument. That being said, I tried my hardest never to lie to you guys. Crux, what do you think about ChainLink? Do you think people would do their own research and find this be a terrible investment?
Tim, I think you're probably the best seller that I know of ChainLink, because I've done well over 40 of y'all's portfolio audits, and every one of y'all have ChainLink in your portfolios. So shout out Tim for bringing ChainLink to light. T-shirt, you mind sharing my screen real quick? So as I talk about this, I want y'all to look at these names up here and just see how big they are. We see banking and capital markets. ChainLink is integrating themselves into SWIFT and all the big global markets. But on top of that, we see tokenization here. Tokenization, I just did a quick dive on a project known as Mantra, however you want to call it. But what they're doing is they're bringing real world assets onto the blockchain. This has to be done through an oracle as well, or partnered with an oracle, which is giving that the decentralized price of what these products are. So if it's PAX-G, which is an ERC20 token, what is the value of an ounce of gold? I need a decentralized version or a decentralized chain such as ChainLink to be able to tell me without tampering, the price, because somebody could say it's 2,000 when another person's saying it's 3,000. So ChainLink, it has a very important use case in crypto and bringing real world data into blockchains. And then lastly, you see DeFi here. DeFi is probably one of the biggest use cases, if not the biggest use case in crypto currently. We see many, even Aave right up here. You see it scrolling by. Just some of the biggest, decentralized apps by total value locked is partnered with ChainLink. So, and a lot of people are starting to come out and start hating ChainLink because of what they're doing with Swift and how centralized they are. It's okay. We need some centralized products in crypto, especially with real world assets, where we don't want people to depeg the price of the assets in real life. We need some decentralized manner, and ChainLink is here to solve that.
Very good. T-shirt, anything you want to add to that one?
I sold all my ChainLink this morning. No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. ChainLink is just one of those coins where it's kind of like Solana and Ethereum, where it's kind of somehow got its way up into the top of the market caps, and it's just like kind of looking around and It's just getting the bid. It's going to continue. It's an institutional coin. People really like it because it is Wall Street friendly. There's a lot, as Crux just showed, there's a lot of big American corporate names that are in it, and they are partnered with it, and they are invested in it. And so that's what I want to be in this cycle, right? I want to be very careful with the retail community coins, not because they aren't great, not because they aren't fast, not because they aren't, doing some real genuine magic in blockchain, but because that's not where the institutions are sniffing around. That's not what they're interested in. They're interested in tokenization. They're interested in replacing Swift, right? Those are and obviously DeFi.
Yeah. I'll tell you what the two things that ChainLink is looking to get excitement, because there's gonna be, I see someone in chat saying the price is still not moving. It's been boring. We have it going up towards potentially being a top 5 coin on CoinMarketCap, yet it's still at number 15. There's two things that need to happen for ChainLink to start moving, and they should be happening here very, very soon. Number one, alt season, right? It's still an altcoin. You're still going to want to see excitement come with the alt season. That's number one, right? That should happen late December, early January. The second one, though, and this is going to apply to all real-world assets. Does anyone in chat want to make an argument that real-world assets will flop in this bull market? I think very few of you would give a good reasoning as to why that is. We're talking about the AVAXs, the Ondos, Pith. But let's just be very fair. It's not like those other coins are all of a sudden making moves and Chainlink's being left behind. What is the real world asset space waiting on for its catalyst to go berserk in price action? It's waiting for regulatory clarity. Guess what comes, or guess when that's going to come? It's going to come when we're certain about who the governing entities are going to be for the next 4 years, when we know what Congress is going to look like, what the Senate's going to look like, who's going to be president. When we know, hey, is the SEC going to continue to just attack crypto over and over and over again, or is Gary Gensler going to be replaced and we have somebody who's not an enemy of crypto? Once those things happen, ChainLink, an institutionally attractive coin for real-world assets, will go berserk because right now people aren't using it because they're waiting on the clarity. Once that clarity comes, that's when real-world asset coins go crazy. I'm expecting that to happen early in 2025. We don't need to actually even have the exact regulation. We need to have a game plan of what the regulation is going to look like. And just like every other major event, we're going to see price front run, whether the news is bullish or bearish. I'm leaning towards bullish. Let's move on, though, and talk about some other coins people want to look at. Do you guys see anything? You see a coin that seems to stick out overwhelmingly
Ondo
in the chat? Ondo. Oh, I love Ondo. I will never complain about doing Ondo.
Tell me Ondo.
There you go. All right. I had a trade set up here for people. Let's go ahead and dive into what Ondo is going to look like. Again, going to keep it very nice and simple. Here's what we'll say. Inverse head and shoulders pattern that we had been tracking on Ondo. I'm going to go ahead and say, guys, don't necessarily hold your breath on that one staying intact. Now that we're kind of dropping below where that right shoulder had been, this is kind of more of a formation to keep an eye on in a different way. I think what you're watching potentially for is some form of a falling wedge to break out here. If you're wondering what I'm looking at, or it's not even a wedge, sorry, it's a channel that's in play at the moment. Keep an eye on that zone right there. I'm going to leave that line up because I think it's going to be an intriguing spot based off of where we're going to see these order blocks. Sure enough, yeah, the top of that daily order block coming in right there back at this wick where we did get rid of a lot of liquidity here on October 25th. But to the downside, I mean, this could take us all the way down to 58 cents. So just where exactly we're going to see some clarity. Let's go to the 4-hour chart and see what it's saying. Ooh, it's gonna be right below that blue line. Take profits here around 60 cents. We're not seeing as much confluence here on Ondo as we're seeing on the others. That being said, I still think we drop in price with the rest of the space. Let's take a look at liquidity. Let's take a look at what liquidity is saying. Zooming out, though, because we got to take a look. All right, so we have a lot of liquidations down here to 62. Big gap, though. And I don't like how close we are to that gap. And the fact that we probably should drop a lot lower. You have a little bit of liquidity coming here at 57, but the main one I'm looking at down here is at 55. 55 cents for Ondo. It's kind of intriguing. That's going to be here at the bottom of our take profit, right? If I turn liquidations off, that's the bottom of this green wave and the bottom of that take profit on the 4-hour chart. 55 cents. We go back to the daily chart. We're talking about towards the bottom side of that order block that's on the daily chart. So this was a little harder. and I'm not necessarily as certain about it, but based off liquidity, if we can't hold 62 cents, if we don't get a bounce here off this blue line, which is the first level to keep an eye on, more than likely I'll move all the way back down to 55 cents is in the cards for Ondo before we get some form of a bounce there. Everything I just said about ChainLink applies to Ondo as well. If anyone's saying, Tim, I thought Ondo was supposed to be so good. Why is it falling? Is this coin over? Well, guess what? It's not alt season, and we don't have regulatory clarity yet. That will be cleared up in the next couple of months. If we don't see Ondo moving in January, in fact, this applies to every altcoin out there. If you do not see January showing some real strength for these altcoins, I'm not saying 100% that means that coin's a dud and you should sell out of it, but I think you should really consider this coin's got some problems. Ondo is going to have a major unlock this sometime in early 2025. I don't remember the exact date off the top of my head. What it needs to do is have a nice rally before the unlock, because that unlock will bring some negativity as well. If we don't get it, Ondo is going to be one that people need to potentially say, all right, it's not going to be what we thought it was, at least right now. This is maybe a coin to invest in later down the line because it still has such long-term great fundamentals. But we're talking about investing in this bull market. The test of time stands what happens in January. If Ondo can pop back up, getting back above $1, maybe making a push back up towards, what was the highest it got to? I forgot the exact number. 150, 147. I think we need to be back above $1 and making serious pushes towards that 140. If it's not doing that in January, then I think you ask some questions about its viability in this bull market. T-Shirt, I'm going to start with you. Any disagreement, any thoughts, anything you want to add there to Ondo?
On Ondo?
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like a little sister of ChainLink in a sense, because it's really big into the tokenization and it has the association with BlackRock, right? So it has the institution tag for this cycle. That's very bullish, and it's on the tokenization side, and it's already operating. It's not a promise like we're gonna build it and it's gonna be great. There's already operating. You can already buy tokenized treasuries right now from Ondo. Mm-hmm. So. And then, Crux, I think you had pulled up potentially the unlock schedule date.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a couple things to share with Ondo. So currently, Ondo is releasing about 53,000 Ondo tokens per day, going all the way into right here. Boom, January 18th. January 18th, 1.94 billion tokens unlock, which is about 20% of the supply. So you got to remember, if you're already exposed to Ondo and holding Ondo, it essentially dilutes your value of your tokens by 20%. And that's what a lot of people are scared of. That being said, the next unlock is January 18th, 2026. So if we go into the Q4 unlock of next year, we just got to get through that January 18th period, which I do believe it's going to be a huge sell-off event, 20%. Mm-hmm. But that being said, we have another, hopefully 3 to 4 quarters left to go after that unlock, where we don't have another unlock. So if you're thinking about getting Ondo, you might want to wait. But I'm holding my Ondo. I think it's a good hold, and it's because similar to ChainLink, you have names like this. You have Goldman Sachs, Bridgewater, Millennium, BlackRock. And then you have like these beautiful products that they're creating, especially to be used during the bear market. And we'll talk more about this later on in the cycle, but Ondo is a beautiful product.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I want to shout out in chat. Crypto Stevo is in chat, a guy that I very much respect his analysis. Crypto Steve and I don't agree on everything, but I love seeing when he breaks down data on things. And he said, a lot of institutional interest in Ondo. It will rebound well. This is a guy, just to give you credit, again, don't buy something just because Crypto Stevo says it, right? But I'll tell you, from knowing Crypto Stevo now for a couple of years, he's got very strong opinions, but I've never seen him give an opinion that he doesn't back with significant arguments and significant evidence, right? So it's always good to see Crypto Stevo gives an approval. Crypto Stevo, though, big Solana guy, loves Solana. He's never going to be a Cardano guy, right? So don't ever think that Crypto Stevo is going to defend Cardano. That's not his coin. Want to get that clarified. But it's great to see you in here, man. Great to have your opinion as well. Let's take a look at one more, and then we'll call it a day today. Guess what, guys? It's Saturday. It's college football. My favorite team, Virginia Tech Hokies, play right at noon here in about 6 minutes. So if you guys are big college football fans, drop your favorite team in chat. T-Shroom, you shouldn't be laughing. Your boys are playing the Georgia Bulldogs today. It's not going to be great.
Oh, man.
It's not going to be a great day.
But the thing is, though, is we're going to beat them. We're going to beat those Bulldogs. So it's going to be I'm super excited because they're going to beat them. And it's going to be a great day.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll have to find out.
The
Last
investing
coin
bro
here.
said, we love the long here. The investing bro said, we love the Longhorns here. So
Oh, investing bros say that? They said that?
They did say that.
Interesting. I don't know how that's possible. What I was looking at here, you guys tell me, check out the chat. Tell me last coin. I wanted to show people, this is total 3, right? So this is altcoins excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? And someone mentioned this in chat, so I want to talk about it. Altcoins, they started rallying from the lows of March of 2020. But when did the explosive rally begin? It began right here at the end of December of 2020, early January. Guess what else happened in that same time period? The Bitcoin dominance chart ended up peaking and falling off the cliff right there. That's why we've talked so heavily about watching Bitcoin dominance peak and start to fall. That's the sign of true alt season. Again, I think we're right on schedule for that same end of December, early January is where we're going to see the Bitcoin dominance fall. We're going to see total 3, even though total 3 is in a bullish trend since the lows of 23. I think we're going to see it start to really explode to the upside in true fashion with alt season coming. Any coins you guys saw? Last coin we're going to take a look at today. You are muted, Shroom. So I love reading lips, but I'm not good at it.
It's between Moonwell, Kaspa, and AVAX. So take your pick there, Tim.
We have not done. We did AVAX recently. Let's do Kaspa. I'm actively in a long on Kaspa where I bought. I never do anything perfectly. I bought pretty good. I bought down here around 10.5 cents. Which is darn near close to perfect, but didn't quite get there. But this is a zone of support we had put on the table. Will that support hold, though, is the real question.
It is.
Let's take a look here at what we're kind of seeing. The reason why I bought there is this was the extreme depths of the take profit on the daily chart. We were under sell signals from way back here. I thought we were going to come down to these levels in this take profit. Sure enough, it's exactly what ended up happening. So the daily chart's not necessarily telling us a whole lot. Look at the 4-hour chart and see what it's kind of saying. I mean, there's just not a whole heck of a lot of reasons for Kaspa to fall too much further. If it does, it has a lot more to do with just the overall markets and people losing faith. But when you look at liquidity, is there some liquidity right in here around 10.5 cents again? Yeah, there's some, but the majority of the interesting liquidity is sitting up above us, up above 11.7 cents, and then it gets you going more and more and more and more. So Kaspa is one of the ones I'm kind of almost betting not every coin has to fall. Kaspa had already had such a dramatic pullback here before the rest of the crypto space. It's mostly whales invested right now. And I'm looking at the charts. I don't see an overwhelming amount of liquidations that would attract a short position on Kaspa to go down. My expectation is Kaspa, while everything else is falling, kind of stays still, has very low volume. There's no one buying it, but there's also no one selling it. And it just trades and waits for something to happen. I think your best bet on buying Kaspa probably is in this exact area right here. Let's go to a lower time frame and just see if there's anything interesting with these recent movements. Yeah, maybe we kind of squeak in down here. All right, there's a little brightness down here at 10.5 again. But maybe we squeak in here around 11 cents, give or take. But it's not a whole lot lower to the bottom before you really run out of reasons to sell Kaspa. Crux, I know you hate this project. You have been talking about it for months, how no one should touch it with a 10-foot pole. What do you want to say about Kaspa?
I think Kaspa is the #1 most manipulated project in terms of price action, because whenever Bitcoin did its retracement from 73K down to 53K, Kaspa was putting in all-time highs. It was sitting around 21, 22 cents. And then whenever Bitcoin starts pumping, Kaspa starts dumping. So it's doing like inverse Bitcoin. But T-Shirt, if you want to share my screen, this is the reason why I'm excuse me. This is the reason why I'm super bullish on Kaspa, is they've been knocking out. So I started looking at them whenever Dagnite Consensus Research publication was in development. All of this stuff was in development, and they're just checking these things off. So now you have mobile wallet development, you have ledger access to it, you have Kaspa swapped from Golang to Rust, which has made it, you're able to actually push for 10 blocks per second now. It's just a more efficient programming language for smart contracts. you have many things that are still in development, like the consensus to follow the DAG-Knight protocol, and then node improvements, and then lastly, smart contract implementation. So this roadmap looks very similar to what Cardano looked like last cycle, where they were releasing smart contracts last cycle. They had the DEX race and all these different things. And Cardano went from 2 cents to $3 for 150x. So I do think Kaspa from here has just up and right. I do still believe that the price was manipulated in some manner. It could be Marathon. We know that they mined a lot last year and they could be taking profits, but we don't know who's really dumping it. We know somebody is dumping it because it's not acting like Bitcoin is while everything else is. But I'm extremely bullish on the fundamentals of Kaspa.
So
Crux, real quick, I'm gonna ask Crux one question, then we'll go to you, Teacher. Any thoughts from you? Because something we've been kind of really focusing on is it's something that's hurting Kaspa at the moment, but when it comes, will be a major boost. When will a major exchange other than Uphold list Kaspa? Mm-hmm. We're talking about the Binance, the Coinbase, Crow. When are we finally going to see the ability to buy Kaspa spot on one of these more popular exchanges? Do you have any takes on that? Any thoughts?
Yeah, so here's the issue on many tier one exchanges. They cost a lot of money. And the thing is with Kaspa, it is a completely decentralized network. So they were founded with no foundation. A lot of these tokens like Solana, they may give their team or whoever 20%. So as soon as they launch, they already have millions and millions of dollars from seeding and ICO rounds and these kinds of things. Kaspa doesn't have that. Kaspa is a community of donations and, beliefs. It's a lot of us that are, even for some of these meme projects like Nacho, we had to put up $65,000 in donation to get listed on these exchanges. So it's very difficult for, which is why I say sometimes it is good to have some centralization or allowing the teams and the developers to get paid early, because it allows you to spread the word of what Kaspa is. Right. As far as a tier one listing, they have been working on it, but they haven't released a name yet. That being said, we know some exchanges are in the backgrounds buying them, but we just don't know which ones. And I do believe once they do get listed on these tier one exchanges, it's not going to be too late, but you do have access to get it now on some of these lower exchanges, and you will be very rewarded handsomely for doing so.
Gotcha. Very good. You wanted to chime in there, T-Shroom?
Yeah, on Kaspa, I would not use the word manipulated to describe its price action. I think it's uncorrelated to the rest of crypto, and specifically to Ethereum, because it's uncorrelated to Ethereum because it's a proof of work coin, right? So I do think that Marathon Digital and other miners of Kaspa, it creates a different buying and selling behavior than what we're seeing in just the floating crypto markets, right? The crypto markets are crypto whales they're not concerned with, energy at all. Energy is not a variable. Energy cost, and then they're, miners becoming irrelevant as they get overtaken by more powerful, more efficient miners. Like, those are just not calculations in someone who's buying and selling AVAX and Solana and Cardano and Ethereum, right? So Kaspa, I think, I wouldn't say it's manipulated. It does look different from Ethereum and the rest of crypto because it's proof of work, right? So that's what I would say. Not so much manipulated. It's just the buyer and seller behavior is just very different. So could there be manipulation? Absolutely. There absolutely could be a lot of manipulation too. But I would just say there's a lot of manipulation in general in crypto. So,
well, I mean, that I'll agree with you. There is manipulation all over the place. Guess what? That's what happens when you have institutions involved. The institutions are going to be part of why crypto goes berserk. They're also going to be the reason why sometimes things are just a little fishy. They never make things easy on the retail investor. And that's why you got to dig in. You got to study how markets move when institutional manipulation is at play, how to read the news, how to read the charts, how to read liquidations, to understand. You got to put yourself in the perspective of thinking, man, if I was one of these institutions, if I was the composite man, how would I manipulate price to screw as many people out of their money as I could? It's a sucky way to think about it, but that is the world of investing. We talk about that all of the time here on the channel. That is going to wrap up today's show. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this special Saturday edition of the Investing Bros. I know there's a lot of coins you guys were asking about that you wanted to go deeper on. There's two ways you can get those answers. First of all, come on back next week. Super chats are always a great way. Speaking of, we had one with no message, but want to give a special shout out to Tesla Roo, who gave $2. You can always give super chats in our shows next week. The other one is join our community where we are always active. We're only live so many hours a day here on YouTube, but over in our Discord channel, we're always talking. Come join the fastest growing crypto community, the Investing Bros. With that said, love you guys. It's Saturday. Go spend time with family, watch some football, eat some good food, rest, maybe even take a couple hours off of watching the crypto charts. Give yourself a rest. You deserve it. Come back Monday. We're going to make some money. Love you guys. See you then. Adios.